So before getting into the video, I wanted to say that this video is sponsored by Filmora 9. So Filmora 9 is an entry-level video editing software that's a great place to start if you're looking to get into making videos for like YouTube or Instagram, for example, and even fully supports 4K video. Higher-end editing softwares like professional stuff, Adobe Premiere, that kind of thing, they certainly have a bunch of bells and whistles and extra functions, but it's going to cost you a bunch of money and you're probably not even going to use everything you're paying for anyway. But Filmora 9 is free to try and only costs a single payment of less than $70, and then that's it, you own it for life. Filmora 9 has pretty much every function you would need to start making almost any kind of video. They got PC screen recording, green screen, color correction, as well as a whole bunch of text and effect presets you can choose from. In fact, something I actually legit think that this program is really good for is audio editing. Like if you're making a podcast, for example. Recording in Audacity is very easy, but for me at least, going through and editing it afterwards is like a nightmare. But using Filmora 9, you can really easily and quickly just cut parts out, rearrange clips however you need, put them all together. It's kind of like you're just playing with Legos. So if you're looking to start your own YouTube channel, or you want to edit something for school, or just for fun, you want to make videos, or just starting a podcast, or anything like that, click the link down in the description and give Filmora a try today. And now, on to the video. Somehow, over the last 2.5 years or so, it's become my job, so to speak, to talk about and comment on so-called bad movies and TV shows. I've covered almost every episode of Riverdale, Netflix teen rom-com masterpieces, Disney Channel movies, old Nickelodeon stuff, just about everything you can imagine never wanting to watch. And of course, I'm not the only one, as the whole genre, I guess, of bad movie commentary, or whatever it's called, is a huge part of YouTube. This kind of kumbaya back-scratching circle where Netflix puts out a movie, myself and many others talk about it, more people learn about it and go watch it, Netflix gets more customers, they put out more movies, and this whole cycle keeps going. One of the most common criticisms I get is, why do I pick only bad movies and not try talking about good movies? Because, after all, making fun of bad movies is easy and low-hanging fruit, I suppose. And commenting on or criticizing good movies is seen as more legitimate or more worth someone's time. After all, why would anyone want to waste their time on something they already know is going to be bad? But this got me thinking, which I do a lot because I've been eating a little too much fiber lately, if you know what I mean. But what exactly is more valuable about a good movie versus a bad one? And who decides the criteria about which is which? A lot of self-proclaimed movie critics like to talk about film theory concepts like pacing and character depth, MacGuffins, Chekhov's guns, that kind of thing. But fundamentally, why is The Kissing Booth a bad movie and, say, The Avengers or Star Wars are good movies? Because I don't think it's worth pretending that movies about people who wear leather outfits and use their magic powers to fight aliens is really that much more artistically legitimate than a movie about a totally average every girl who somehow wins the heart of the local hot guy who talks like a text-to-speech program. I mean, fundamentally speaking, what is the inherent value of any of these movies? Not that neither of them should exist or anything like that, but in what way is one of them more valuable than the other? Now, just for the sake of argument, for the sake of this video, I'm not going to compare The Kissing Booth to something like Schindler's List, for example, because that discussion would be incredibly pointless and ridiculous. I suppose you could say that cultural influence is part of it, like how comic books have been around for a long time and have shaped a lot of people's lives and value systems as they grew up, and so, naturally, having these comic books brought to life means a lot to a lot of people. But by that same logic, we also have to acknowledge that many people have had the same experiences growing up with rom-coms, teen romance, YA books and movies, and so on. As much as we all like to dunk on Twilight, for example, you have to admit that it had a pretty significant impact on a lot of people and movies that still continues to this day. Now, obviously, this conversation could go back and forth forever, but for the sake of argument, let's just assume that cheesy superhero blockbusters and cheesy teen rom-coms inherently have the same fundamental value, which is to say, not that much. So that brings me to my main question. Why then do we love bad movies? There have been a lot of critiques on the new Star Wars movies, for example, but between the prequels 20 years ago and the new trilogy recently, the movies have been subpar to mediocre at best, really. But everyone still loves Star Wars. And there hasn't really been any good teen rom-com type movies since Mean Girls, like 16 years ago, and yet I still watch every single one I can find. So, why? Why does everyone love paper-thin superhero movies? Why do we love frivolous cotton candy bubblegum teen rom-coms? And by we, I'm just talking about myself here, really. Even though we know they're bad movies, according to almost any criteria you could measure them by, we still watch them every time and we still enjoy ourselves. And I think that's really just the crux of the whole thing. The primary purpose of any work of fiction is to entertain. It might also be to inform, to shine a light on some part of society still kept in the shadows, so to speak. It might be to answer an important question, but if the movie or TV show or book or whatever it is not entertaining in some way, then it has failed its core purpose. A lot of people have this idea that you shouldn't even waste your time on something that is not good. whatever that means. Movie reviews, video game reviews, 4 stars, 9 out of 10. I feel like this kind of thinking has trained us all to see the value of entertainment in terms of rigid numbered metrics. As if there's no way a 3 out of 5 star movie could possibly be as entertaining as a 5-star movie. Even though every review of anything is completely subjective, we tend to absorb the review as objective fact. I mean, I get quite a few messages pretty much every week about how just because a movie might be dumb doesn't mean no one's allowed to like it, which I completely agree with. If you are entertained by something, if the purpose of a movie is to entertain you and you are entertained by that movie, then what does it matter if the pacing is bad or how many plot holes there are? Especially on the internet, there's this strange obsession with what people are allowed to like or not like. What kinds of video games are real video games? What movies are artistically legitimate versus which ones are not worth anyone's time? And if you like something that has not been determined to be good, then you yourself are also somehow less than. I will say though that there's certainly a clear distinction between what kinds of pointless entertainment is acceptable and what kinds are not. Now, I can't quite put my finger on it, but there's definitely some kind of pattern going on here. But all the same, as someone who makes fun of movies for a living, I want to tell you right now that there's nothing wrong with loving or enjoying cheesy bad movies, TV shows, books, whatever it is. Because at the end of the day, it's all about being entertained. It's all about escapism. And if watching The Kissing Booth 2 on Netflix gives you 2 hours of mindless, innocuous fun, then what exactly is wrong about that? Not every piece of media needs to have its own biblical exegesis on its artistic merits. If you're someone who only watches critically acclaimed Academy Award-winning movies, or you only play games reviewed at 9 or above or whatever, then honestly you just sound kind of insufferable. Why do we love bad movies? Because maybe they're not actually bad, per se? Sure, the plots might not make sense, the characters might not act like any real person would, and yeah, they probably have way too many montages. But does that make them bad, or do they just not live up to the arbitrary criteria that we all somehow agreed on and decided was fact? Now, I'm not an authority on anything here, so take my words how you will, but I say, if you love Twilight, if you love Riverdale, you love whatever Netflix is putting out this week, good for you. You know, in doing the videos that I do, there does seem to be kind of a consistent like misunderstanding of what exactly it is I'm doing. Not that what I'm doing is some kind of like cerebral, like super deep thing, but it's just, so a lot of people on YouTube just like to trash things and people, right? Like, this is dumb, this is horrible, and if you like it, you're horrible, and you shouldn't watch this YouTuber because of XYZ reason, and you shouldn't watch this movie because whatever. You know, everyone's like very hyperbolic in that way. Depending on the movie and TV show, maybe I also do that sometimes as well, but what I try to do mostly is like, I'm not actually really making fun of the movie or the TV show itself so much, rather that I'm looking at the situations that are in the movies, like what the characters are doing, what they're saying, whatever, and then just kind of like bouncing that off of my own life and like, oh, you know, when I was in high school, the same thing happened to me, or like, if, you know, could you imagine if that happened to you? That would be so weird. But it's like, my videos aren't just, like, the whole purpose of the video is not just to trash a movie. Like, I'll point out things that I think like don't make sense, or that they're kind of weird, or like why did this happen, that type of thing. And if it is just like a movie that I think is borderline unwatchable for me, I'll certainly say that. But like, I don't know, I feel like people just expect me or think that I'm just like trashing the movie, and oh, these actors are horrible, and this director was horrible, and everyone who made this movie should be embarrassed about it. But like, that's not something I would ever say or think, because that's not the purpose of my videos. It's just using what happens in the movie and then just to bounce jokes off of that, really. That's like the whole purpose of it. I don't really see myself as someone who's like nitpicking all of the film theory issues with the movie or whatever. Like, it's really just about making some jokes about dating and how the characters are talking to each other, and like, you know, why does she like this guy? He's like a slab of wood. Why would you like this guy? That type of thing. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to ring that bell so don't miss any videos from me. Follow me on Twitter. Let me know what you think about just anything, really. I don't know. You just tweet whatever. Or don't. It's up to you. Anyway, above all else, everybody have a great day, and I'll see you all next time.